she took the bait and was
Oh
like,
no.
don't tell my students to do this. And she like did it right in front of everyone.
She didn't like the feeling that it felt like she was going to be replaced.
I also was like very bitter because I didn't like the way she was treating me. So I just like let her step on me. Hello, welcome to Mistakes Were Made, where I talk about the mistakes that I've made in the past with my husband as my co-host.
Hello. Yes.
Just listen to me.
I am your +1, madam.
The next one is office rivalry.
Office rivalries, huh? What was your mistake?
Ooh.
Here. Oh, back in the day.
Yeah.
Winnie, is this your first job?
My teaching job. Actually, like being in education is no joke. And I'm not going to out anyone or talk about them, but I'm going to talk about my experience.
Yeah, of course. Much respect to
because
working in the education system.
Yeah. So obviously you work with various people and you have to learn to work together and collaborate, and you'll meet very different personalities. Not everyone's going to be your cup of tea. So I definitely want to share like something that I dealt with at the beginning. I was just starting out and I think I was trying to find my place at the school and like getting an internship role, which is really big in the school that I work in because like it's the opportunity for you to find your place and get your foot in the door pretty much. And that's what I was doing was that I was shadowing all these classes and kind of learning from the different types of teachers that I work with. And one person that I worked with,
you guys were on very different wavelengths.
Yeah, we were on very different wavelengths. I think that she didn't like the fact that I was shadowing her class and she was actually pregnant. So eventually I was going to take over when she went on her maternity leave.
I see.
I remember like she didn't like it when I had discussions with students or like gave my input, and she would actually like talk to me and be like, don't do that again, or that's wrong.
Initially, what jumps out here is like she didn't like the feeling that it felt like she was going to be replaced.
Yeah, right? I think that's what it is. I never really asked her.
On the surface, at least, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, because my experiences with the other people I was shadowing with was they're very welcoming. So she didn't like the fact that I was like a part of the class system and maybe kind of going to take over her class when she went on maternity leave. That was my gut feeling.
Seems like
I will never be able to speak for her.
Okay.
But the way she was treating me was completely different. I remember I was a little bit more timid and she would like tell me off in front of students. Like one time I gave an advice to a student about like her sketchbook and how like she should add these things. And then the student like told her teacher and be like, but she said this. And sometimes students love to pit you against other superiors because then like...
Oh yeah, they want you to butt heads.
Yeah, they want you to butt heads. Sometimes they do that intentionally, but like she took the bait and was like...
Oh no.
Don't tell my students to do this. And she like did it right in front of everyone.
Right.
And then I remember another time where like, I think the students were starting to favor me more. They liked my opinions more. I don't know if it was because like how...
Well, this is how you're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I remember there were other times where she like, I think one time she just got so sick of it and she just lashed out on everyone in the room.
Okay.
She's like, you're doing this because you're causing me stress and you're going to make me lose my baby.
Oh man.
And I'm like, that's a lot.
That is kind of heavy.
And yeah.
Heavy
and like
words.
Sometimes it got to a point at the hallway, she would like be really mean to me, give me glares and like just very unpleasant. And like when you start experiencing very unpleasant work environment, it stresses you out. I remember I cried to and people that I worked with and being like, this sucks. Like when you deal with somebody you don't like, it actually sucks. It doesn't help like your work experience. Like you fear going to work and dealing with somebody. It gives you
anxiety. Your anxiety is spiking now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was just starting out and I really didn't want to like step on any toes. So I just kind of let it like all.
So you let it slide. You kind of just let it happen.
Yeah. And I never stood up for myself.
Got you. Well, yeah, this is your early days.
Yeah. Now I'm built different.
Yeah, like I could see that, being a new, you're not even officially hired yet, you don't want to mess things up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hired for a 1-year contract.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's not permanent and like it's really based on. Like,
you want to have a future here,
Exactly.
Exactly.
So we never resolved it, but I think over time she just like started to be okay with me. Maybe because we were working in different departments.
Was this after her pregnancy?
After her pregnancy. No, but it was a while till she like, I think, warmed up to me.
Okay.
She was quite unpleasant. And I think like for the first 2 years of like having to experience working with her, because she was gone for a year, it was very not cool. And it was very stressful for me. And she did a lot of things that were not necessary and like were very humiliating to me in class.
That doesn't sound like a very healthy environment to be working in.
And I don't want to just give up so easily. And it's a way to understand that you're going to be dealing with people like this, and it's not a way to like escape, but learning how to handle it. So I tried my best in the end to like build up the courage to just like acknowledge them, be very civil, and, you know, do my best to be kind.
And that's good.
Because at the beginning, I also was like very bitter because I didn't like the way she was treating me. So you need to learn how to manage yourself and how you're going to stand up for yourself. Because I remember my other colleague, she used to like cry every day also because of this other person she worked with. He was also like terrible. It takes up a lot of courage because I think the way I handle stress is that I stay quiet. And also I do this a lot where when I'm under a lot of pressure, my brain freezes and like I really can't think a lot, which is like, I don't know what to say. I don't know, like...
You're like stunned.
Yeah, I'm stunned.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I let myself be stunned. Like I've had a couple of instances where I butt heads with like people that I work with, and I go back to their room and tell them like, you made me feel really uncomfortable.
Okay. Well, that's good. You're speaking up for yourself now.
It takes a lot of courage, a lot of self-confidence to work up the courage to speak to them.
And you mentioned that it took you a while to build up the courage to do this. Do you have is there like a foundation in your head that you fall back on that gives you courage to say these things to people? Like something that you tell yourself to reassure you?
I didn't want to feel stressed and feel fear seeing that person every day, which is what was happening to me at the very beginning. I would go to school and be like afraid
anxious.
To see this person.
Yeah, you'd be super anxious.
Because I didn't know like what emotion they were going to throw at me that day.
Oh man. Okay.
And like to me, that's very stressful work environment. And of course I want to work in the place.
Yeah.
And I don't want to let anyone get in the way of like somewhere like that I want to work with.
This wasn't going to stop you.
This wasn't going to stop. It's really just like hyping yourself up. And then also practicing in your head. I can do a lot of like dialogues in my head.
Inner dialogue.
Inner dialogues, yeah. I always talk.
That's good.
Like I'm always like, oh, what if they say this? And what if they say that? Mm-hmm. So that I'm like prepared. Because I'm not a person that can really think on my feet.
Okay.
Like I roll with the waves, but I like reflect heavily and then like apply that eventually.
All right.
So yeah, it's a terrible experience, but I think one of the biggest lessons for me is to really just learn how to manage and acknowledge the feelings that I'm feeling and not escape from it.
And now you feel you've gotten a lot better at this.
I think I've gotten a lot better. I think the freezing still happens.
Yeah.
Like I had last year, I just dealt with colleagues that I butt heads with, but I do speak up a lot more.
You speak up. You're more vocal. You're an advocate for yourself.
Yeah, I advocate for myself. So the lesson really here is advocate for yourself, no matter like how afraid you are. But of course, you need to do it in the right context. You can't just be like, well, they treated me bad and I'm going to do the same thing and do it in publicly shame them, right? You have to like essentially try to be the better person.
Sure, there's like an etiquette.
Yeah,
I guess,
the etiquette. Like you can't just like roll out and be like, you
as much as you
would love to do that. Like sometimes like, you know, I imagine that Mean Girls scene where they go like gorillas and they start like pulling each other's hair. That like scenario. Yeah, that's the scene that I think of sometimes.
Well, especially when you're in a workplace and you need to seek common ground, because I mean, you're not necessarily going to compromise in the way that you see it play out in your head.
I think also being okay with the fact that you're not going to be okay with that person.
That's important. I think that's a good point.
So for me, my goal isn't to be like friends.
Yeah, that's not the goal.
It's to seek like civil rights.
To be professional. Yeah, you guys want to be professional.
And understand that like there is space for everybody, but no space for rudeness. Okay. And just understanding that, hey, this is how I feel, but also having that etiquette to respect their space as well. And
I think what you bring up is important with saying how it makes you feel, because you can say that there's no space for rudeness, but that'll just bring up the argument of someone not believing they were rude while the other person thinks they were rude, right? So the point you make about just straight up how someone makes you feel, I think is something that you should bring up in these situations more. Like you said, you had to bring up the courage to tell these colleagues of yours that they made you feel uncomfortable, regardless of, you know, the reasons why. Because in their heads, they're probably not thinking they're being rude.
And they didn't.
Yeah. So they think they're being completely professional.
Yeah.
They think the problem is on you, but the fact that it made you feel a certain way.
Yeah, and these
vocalizing
people
that.
will probably discredit you sometimes. Like,
Sure.
like I did tell them and they didn't really kind of acknowledge it. They're like, oh, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. And sometimes you just have to take that as an answer and hope that they reflect on it. But you need to be able to vocalize it. It's important
Put
for
it
you
out
to
on the
put
table.
it out
Put
on
it
the
out there
table
that they know.
and be like, I don't appreciate that and I hope you don't do it again. Because that's absolutely not okay.
That's good.
Let's do our final game.
Oh, we got a game?
We got a game.
More
it's the
games.
same.
Is this Despicable Me?
No, it's Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. You know, I feel like I'm going to wish I was a lot better at this quiz at the end.
Really?
Anyways, yeah.
Which movie did they first appear on?
Okay.
Frodo.
Gotcha. First one, Fellowship.
Okay. Samwise.
Fellowship.
Aragon.
Fellowship.
Legolas.
Fellowship.
Okay. Gimli.
Fellowship.
Gandalf.
Fellowship. Come on, man.
Boromir.
Fellowship.
Saruman.
He's definitely in Two Towers. Did he? No, no. Fellowship. He was in Fellowship.
Okay.
Yeah, Fellowship.
Gollum.
Gosh, silly me. Fellowship.
My precious. Okay, anyway. Well, that's for another time. Elrond.
Fellowship too.
Arwen.
Oh, man. I do not know who Arwen is. I'm going to go with Fellowship again.
Okay. How about Eomer?
Fellowship?
Two Towers.
Two Towers. There we go. Got one wrong.
Eowyn.
Two Towers?
Yeah.
Is this
Faramir.
Two Towers?
Yeah.
Is there a pattern here?
No. How about Denethor?
You got me here. Third one.
Yeah.
Return of the King.
Treebeard.
Two Towers.
Haldir.
Two Towers.
No. Fellowship.
Damn.
Grima Wormtongue.
Oh, man. That's Two Towers.
How do you know?
Just confident.
Theoden.
Two Towers. Let's go.
Lurtz.
Return of the King.
No. Fellowship. Shelob.
Fellowship.
Hamad.
Fellowship.
Two Towers.
Damn.
Gamling.
Fellowship.
Gondorian soldiers.
Two Towers.
No.
What?
Return of the King.
Oh, that was Return. Yeah, okay.
And that's it. You got most of them right.
Oh, man. I know, but, you know, I'm not as knowledgeable.
You actually
in
like Lord of the Rings.
I do like Lord of the Rings, but I'm a casual. I'm a casual, man.
Yeah. I'm not a fan except for
Except for Gollum.
because that's the best impression I can do
It's
ever.
quite
Which
impressive.
is like very unattractive.
It's not as great at parties, but it could be great at parties. Because
Yeah.
coming from you, I mean, come on, who's going to expect that?
My precious. Thank you, everyone. It's a little bit rusty right now because I'm not vocally prepared.
Okay.
Precious. Okay, I'm done. Okay. I remember I didn't feel comfortable at one point. I spoke to my superior. I mean, as like childish as that sounds, but like having support and talking to your colleague and having them there and having somebody assist. If you don't have the courage, have somebody there to kind of be the
Someone you're comfortable
intermediator.
and someone you feel comfortable around.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Office
Absolutely.
politics will always be anywhere you go. Okay.
Yeah.
And really just how you manage it is important. You can't just jump from one place to another and expect like a great environment. You also make up that environment.
Is there a point where you ever self-reflect and think that, you know, maybe you're the problem here?
I do think that often.
You do think that often?
Yeah.
And
Like,
what's
am I
the tipping
complaining
point?
too much?
Yeah. So like, what's the tipping point? Or like, you know, what pushes you to one side or the other where you're like, you know, maybe it's not just me, or like, you know, maybe I am the problem here. Maybe I am whining a little too much.
I do think that often and understand that it's okay not to resolve something.
You just leave it unresolved.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to let things be. It's not to like say like you're letting injustice happen, but just understanding that some things are better left unresolved.
I see.
Yeah.
So what do you do now if these situations present themselves?
I think about the context of the situation. And then I go to the next stage where I'm like, okay, it's worth it. Then I'm going to like speak to a superior or have somebody there or speak to them myself.
Yeah.
And it's like an action plan. It's like this little map.
That's
you
good.
know?
In your head, playing
In
out.
my head, yeah. Like, okay, is it worth it? Is it not? And then if I directly speak to that person, what am I going to say? I think another important thing is what is the outcome that I'm expecting?
Yeah, that's a good point. What
Yeah.
do you want out of this?
Do I want them to apologize? What is this, out of pride or what? Like, is my ego hurt?
Yeah.
Or am I just trying to like help them understand that I don't want something like that to happen again?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good self-reflection.
For me, like, I don't expect apologies.
Okay.
I
really?
expect from you, yes.
Okay. Yeah. well,
For colleagues, I don't expect necessarily an apology. I just expect them to create professional boundaries
It's good. Yeah, being professional at the end of the day, right? I mean, people want to work in a professional environment.
Yeah. Everyone's coming from different countries.
Different
The
walks
way
of
they
life,
handle things.
different
You
cultures.
need to understand that everybody handles things differently and they're going to be so different in personality.
Yeah.
What you understand as like safe or cool is maybe not necessarily that another individual.
Good point.
Yeah. So that's the learning point, guys.
Thank you.
Anyways, that is the podcast of experience for the day. I hope that if ever you have any like office rivalries and how you deal with them, leave them in the comment section. I would love to see like how other people deal
Spill
with
the tea.
Spill the tea. I love reading
Don't
that
call them
stuff.
out.
No need to name names. Just this person was terrible or I was terrible, whatever.
Yeah, you want Winnie's attention? Just spill some tea, guys.
Spill some tea. I want to know. But honestly, like I can't give advice because what I've learned is context is super important.
And it goes without saying, Winnie is, I mean, we're all still learning very much from our mistakes. It's an ongoing, lifelong process.
Yes. And that's not saying that me talking about mistakes makes me think that I'm superior.
It ain't the gospel. No.
It's just about kind of laying out the facts and then just
sharing. We're just sharing here.
Reflecting.
Sharing
Thanks,
and
everyone.
reflecting. There you go. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.